Poison has long been stereotyped the woman's weapon. Discreet, deliberate, and, until modern forensics, often undetectable. Mostly used within domestic settings, it offered women control in a world that gave them little. Whether driven by desperation, greed, or revenge, the act was calculated and the outcome chilling. Hi everyone, I'm Natalie and I'm the Legal Heritage Collection Manager at the Supreme Court Library, Queensland. Today I'm dishing out one of Queensland's most compelling colonial cases straight from the pages of His Honour Mr Justice Lutwyche's judgments of 1876. This is the story of deceit, ambition and betrayal, a murder served with a side of mashed potatoes. Around noon on the 24th of May 1876, William Lansfield sat down to a plate of mashed potatoes in his small hut at Indooroopilly. Within hours he was dead, his body rigid like a crowbar, a witness described. The cause? Strychnine, found in his stomach and in the leftover potatoes, and even in the unfortunate dog that ate the scraps and also died. When the Supreme Court sat in Brisbane on the 30th of August, the case before Justice Lutwyche was sensational. Elizabeth Lansfield was accused of poisoning her husband. Her lover, Thomas Edwin Bonney, stood charged as an accessory before the fact. Elizabeth denied it, claiming she and her daughter ate the same meal of pork, mashed potatoes and rice pudding, but the evidence suggested otherwise. If they had, they too would be dead. So did she do it? Let's examine the ingredients of this fatal recipe. A year earlier, the Lansfields arrived in Queensland from England, shadowed by the tragedy of losing 2 children on the voyage. Upon arrival, they were hired by Thomas Bonney, William as a farmhand and Elizabeth a housekeeper. But trouble soon began to simmer. According to an acquaintance, Thomas once told Elizabeth that if she was single, he'd marry her before any other woman in the world. When the Lansfields left his employment later that year, Thomas and Elizabeth remained in contact through letters. Thomas was even spotted in public with his arm around Elizabeth's waist. In August, not long before the incident, Elizabeth gave birth and told Thomas he was the father. Whether true or not, it revealed how deeply entangled they had become. So what stirred this deadly pot? The marriage was not a happy one. Elizabeth said her husband was cruel, that she'd lost 3 stillborn children to his abuse, and that he resented her for his misery working in the harsh countryside heat. Once she admitted to a friend that she would put poison in his tea, not to kill him, but to frighten him. Thomas, on the other hand, was everything William was not. He promised Elizabeth a better life where she and her children would never want. Once, after a bitter fight between the Lansfields, he even removed Elizabeth from the home, casting himself as her protector. A letter found in her possession, signed by Thomas as "Your loving husband," may have been meant to rekindle their affair and persuade her to leave her marriage. For a poor woman in an abusive relationship, it was a deeply persuasive offer. So what did the jury serve up? The poisoning was too precise to be accidental. Suicide seemed unlikely, especially as the mashed potatoes had been seasoned to disguise a bitter taste of strychnine. There was no strychnine in the Lansfield home, but Thomas was found to have kept some at his property in Caboolture to kill dingoes. Only one person in the hut had both motive and opportunity, but without direct evidence, Elizabeth could not be convicted. Thomas may have known of her intentions, but there was no proof he approved. Justice Lutwyche observed that Elizabeth longed for a better life, while Thomas's motive seemed more adulterous than murderous. But he knew she wanted her husband gone and did nothing to stop it. The court was left to wonder, was Thomas simply a man in love, caught in the hopes of a desperate woman? Or had he quietly encouraged the murder to claim her for himself? Despite Justice Lutwyche's strong closing remarks, the jury couldn't agree. The case had become too heated, stoked by sensational headlines and public gossip. The first jury was dismissed. A second, specially convened, reportedly leaned toward conviction, but confusion over split verdicts stopped them from reaching a decision. In In the end, neither Elizabeth Lansfield nor Thomas Bonney was found guilty. Elizabeth walked free, but not unmarked, now a single mother, disgraced and shadowed by suspicion. In a society where reputation meant everything, especially for women, that alone was a life sentence of social ostracism. Thomas claimed ill health, avoiding further scrutiny, and vanished from public view. For all its scandal, the case closed not with a verdict, but with silence.